What is the most outrageous news going on around the world right now? War in Sudan. It's going to go down ignored as casualties worse than in Ukraine and Gaza go down. Same as in Tigray. Plus massive genocide and acts of brutality. The really outrageous thing is how little people know of this. 500,000 children starved to death in the past 2 years. Indonesia is in a really difficult situation right now. Short about it that explains it. https://youtube.com/shorts/l9jkazttfs SI=JMQXZVDAW9LPDJWH. The dude had 17 houses. 17. What do you need 17 houses for? The flood control budget of 548 billion pesos, $11. 13 billion. 45% of goes to Bulacan and most, if not all, our ghost project. Edit. It is here in the Philippines. My Filipino stepmom was so pissed off about this the last time I visited her. Pretty messed up. After Afghan quake, many male rescuers helped men but not women. A prohibition on contact between unrelated women and men meant many women's wounds went untended and some were left trapped under rubble after a deadly earthquake. They want women to only see female drive while banning women from practicing medicine. Female drive in Afghanistan can't practice medicine without their husband accompanying them, which doesn't work in the real world, so they can't practice medicine. Plus a lot of them left the country when the Taliban took over. Nepal government has recently banned almost all major social media like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Reddit, YouTube, and so on. Wow. Really? How come? The Transport Minister of India, whose son's own ethanol factory, abruptly decided to introduce E20 ethanol blending in petrol where millions of vehicles are not compliant, including cars and two-wheelers, although road legal. The ethanol company owned by one of the sons made a profit of $56,709, $350 last year. Talk about conflict of interest. India is fascinating. China took their massive population and used it to advance themselves and build like humanity has never seen. India has taken that same benefit of having a huge population and absolutely fucked it to hell and stamped it in the dirt every step of the way. Well, some dude in Canada just broke into a house and sat a 3-year-old after already having been incarcerated for doing the same thing and serving 12 months of that 18-month sentence. Home invasions in the GTA have gotten really bad in the last few years, and it's only getting worse. The police only response has been we can't divulge the perpetrators' descriptions and keep your keys and wallets by the door so home invaders can just take our cars and safes and money. It's absolutely absurd. Not on the news. The lack of insects. They're all dying for some reason. Some reason being the extensive use of pesticides. The war in Sudan. Barely any coverage of what is happening there. RP of civilians and murder of innocent people. Mercenaries from other countries are fighting against the Sudanese for money. And it has been going for years. It's crazy how so little this gets attention and no one is taking about it. Fireflies came out late in southeast Texas, which means fall temperatures are late. Good news, the fireflies are out. I would not believe my eyes if 10 million fireflies lit up the world as you fell asleep. Girl in North Carolina just got randomly stabbed to death by the guy behind her on public transit for no apparent reason. And she was a Ukrainian refugee. So messed up that she fled water die like this. The thing that very few people are talking about is a strong backwards move in the solutions to climate change. The fossil fuel industry has successfully bought a number of governments around the world and are making it more difficult to solve climate change because the fossil fuel industry has chosen to put their current share values ahead of the livability of the planet. SEAL Team 6 infiltrated North Korea and killed 3 fishermen, and a US nuclear sub swam through North Korean waters to help evacuate. Why did they infiltrate? Gestures vaguely. Waves his arms around wildly, gesticulating in all directions like a crazed octopus. France hospitals preparing for wounded soldiers in 2026. https://www. The Independent. com/bulletin/news/France hospitals war Emmanuel Macron B 2,819,320 HTML https://www. The Independent. com/bulletin/news/France hospitals war Emmanuel Macron B 2,819,320 HTML. UK government preparing for mass casualties https://www. Contracts Finder. Service. Governor. UK/notice/6BC9C974D864-024C03EA6D49 https://www. Contracts Finder. Service. Governor. UK/notice/6BC9C974D864-024C03EA6D49 US President tweeting that he's going to war with Chicago. For me it's the Department of War proclaiming that it will be lethal instead of politically correct, and observing that the USA hasn't fought to win since WW2. There is one very important difference between war before and after WW2, and if anyone in a position of power has that confused with political correctness, we are all lost. It reminds me of those folks who advocated voting for Trump as the pro-peace candidate over Genocide Joe or Killer Kamala. Russia continues dragging the war despite absence of significant territorial gains and colossal economical/humanitarian losses of both sides. Last 30 months of war costed up to $1 trillion US, at least 300k lives, and gave Russia the grand total of 2,000 to 3,000 square miles of burned to the ground wasteland. Fact is, as of today Russia controls less of Ukraine than they did 3 years ago. They also control less of Russia than they did 3 years ago. Pick any conflict in Africa, especially the Sahel region, the area between the Sahara and the Congo region/Southern Africa regions for those who slept through geography class. Sudan, Tigray, Mali, Congo, and the Car Wars. All of them more fucked up than the next, and have been going on for a very long time. Yet no one cares or talks about it. I see protests for Palestine and Ukraine, but what about ongoing genocides in Africa? If you are gonna protest something like Ukraine or Palestine, fine, but you actually are more impactful bringing awareness and attention to these forgotten conflicts, as they actually lack international recognition and humanitarian aid. It's why when people politicize like Palestine and Ukraine I get upset. You look like you don't really give a s, because if you did you'd be informed on these far longer and brutal genocides and wars in Africa, but because it's not in the media and doesn't provide the US with anything of importance, most people are content to shrug their shoulders and do nothing. Burkina Faso is in its third coup. They happened over a very short space of time. If you are the wrong kind of Muslim, you are as good as dead. In America, the health secretary, who seems to be absolutely bonkers, is going to tell the American people that vaccines cause autism, and he's going to use the evidence presented to him from some real genuine right-wing white Christian nationalist quacks. Real lunacy. I fear for the American people. They are being assaulted on all fronts by their very own government. It's awful to witness. And the state, where everyone goes on holiday/vacation/spring break, has just suspended vaccine mandates for school children. So, think of how that's going to work out. For the potential spread of preventable diseases. B. Damage to Florida's economy, because a fair number of people with at least half a brain will no longer travel there. etc etc. Just so stupid. Answers are pretty simple. This is what happens when major news outlets are owned by for-profit billionaires. Billionaires. They have more money than they know what to do with, and meddle with everything whilst providing minimal to society. Serbian riots. People getting beaten left and right. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson claiming Trump was an FBI informant during his dealings with I didn't know him very well Jeffrey Epstein, who BTW is a Democrat hoax. Isn't an informant typically a guilty person who's getting reduced charges so they can rat out a more major player? It could be, but it's a general term for someone with pertinent information regarding a crime or a conspiracy to commit a crime. Doesn't matter if they are witnesses or perpetrators. The writers on the new season of America have gone a bit over the top. They've reached their Ed wedding moment for sure. I fear we haven't reached that level just yet. It's gotta be the baseball Karen story that's going viral from at least 4 different camera angles, and I still haven't seen her identified. That's what I'm waiting for. The crying apology and her firing. The outburst I had at the baseball game is not reflective of who I truly am. I usually know when I'm being filmed. President of the US wanting to send troops into a city that has a political rival in government. The President of the US. When violence is blasted all over the news, it becomes normalized. The news is full of wars, kidnappings, illegal detention, genocide, and an administration that participates in unbridled corruption. It is no surprise to me that things like this happen. Overall, however, violence and homicide have been declining for 30 years. Doesn't make it any better for the victim. Every time we start noticing things, a shooting occurs. Give 300-meter people a hammer, and every day a few hundred mails are going to get done. The problem is urinal. People still die of COVID, but everyone's telling me it doesn't exist anymore. Like, I literally have COVID right now. It unfortunately does still exist, lol. The USA is now a tech oligarchy,